Everybody, back again to the Elite Show, another episode this week. I'm John Alite. Did I change my life? Yes, I did. For you people out there, fans and soldiers, click the subscribe button if you like the show. To my right, my co-host Kevin.
John, thank you so much. Welcome back to Season 3 of the Elite Show, where we're going to show you how there's much more that brings us together than tears us apart. We're sitting here with two very special guests today. Today's going to be a real fun episode. We're here with Frankie Steele. Okay, I love that name. We're going to talk about nicknames in just a second. And my new friend, Castro Zaitano.
Yes, sir.
Zaitano.
Yep. Nice to be here.
We have four very individual people at this table. I know two people came from former lives that are very similar. We don't know each other. I'm a retired police officer. And like I said, you're going to see how there's more that brings us together than tears us apart. Thank you so much for joining us, John.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, man.
What's up, brother? Good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
We grew up together, the people that don't know out there. And Castro.
A lot of history.
Yeah,
A lot of history. A lot of decades and decades and decades.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that nickname, Frankie Steele.
Okay.
Frankie Steele. I want to know. I grew up around that life, and everybody had the coolest nicknames ever, except for the ones that are like Fat Andy. You know, that's kind of rough.
Well, I'll tell you the history on the name because I had two. Really, I had three nicknames in my life. Steele is the longest one. The first one was Tuscan. Going back to the 70s now. Remember Tuscan Pops?
Yeah, sure.
Buddy
Yeah,
Hackett?
yeah.
The yogurt, frozen yogurt pop?
Buddy Hackett, Love Boat.
Right. So now I used to always go to the corner store and just walk in, take the whole box, and eat the whole box and say, it's diet, so we could eat the whole thing. So I got named Tuscan in the 70s. Then when I went to junior high school and high school, and I was playing football from the Utrecht High School, Green Machine, and the coach says, Beef. And then I became Frankie Beef. I wasn't too happy about it, but, you know, it is what it is. And then right after that, there was like a couple of phase where I was in the music industry, and I got into a shootout at the same time I was doing that, and I ran out of bullets. And I said, I'll never let that happen again. And I always would keep, 4, 5, 6 clips, a couple of different pistols and have an array on me at all times. So the guy was like, you're like Steele. And that's when I became Frankie Steele.
I never asked you that, actually.
Shaquille O'Neal still?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
But I got to tell you, it is one of the cooler names I've ever heard.
And that one stuck. So it became the rap name and the street name at the same time.
Well, your father had a good name. Sammy Cigarettes. I like that
Sammy
name.
Cigarettes. People just usually call me asshole. I think my nickname growing up was Pugsley because I was a little fat kid.
Yeah.
And it's not the most endearing name. I hated that name.
Yeah,
God,
but see, John knows my father since he's a kid.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like a kid. And my father got that name because he used to truck cigarettes in the 70s, the early 70s, mid 70s, from North Carolina here. Truckload after truckload after 18-wheelers. And that's when he became Sammy Cigarettes. So.
Hey, Castro, did you ever have any nicknames growing up?
When I was young, they used to call me Castro Fidel.
Castro Fidel.
Yeah, because I was locked up. I was in when I got locked up when I was young. When I was like 14, I was in DFY, Division for Youth. So I used to write rhymes and stuff. And one dude was like, "Man, you should name yourself Castro Fidel, man." I said, "Nigga, I ain't Cuban. I'm black and Puerto Rican." He said, "Yo, but Cat," and then from that day on, Castro stuck with me. But later on, as I started evolving and like knowing myself and learning myself, and I was a part of the life, I changed the C to a K and put Zaitana because everybody put Santana because I'm Spanish too. So everybody put Santana, Joel Santana. So I was like, you know what? I'm different completely from everybody around me. I'm gonna put a Z. I'm Zaitana.
Do you speak Spanish still?
Nah.
I lived in Cuba for a while.
Oh, all right.
So I seen your dad. I used to see him.
I'm not even Cuban.
He changed his name to Trudeau.
Yeah.
Don't get me twisted though. I did used to lie back in the day. He was like, yo, why your name is Castro? I'm Cuban, man. I'm Cuban.
There you go. But you two grew up together. So how is it that you guys grew up and ended up in different families? Now, you were part of the Gambino crew, and you were part of the Colombo crew.
Correct.
Okay, so how did you separate?
Well, here's what happened. My father was Gambino. A couple of relatives were Gambino. And my father, in the end, he ended up doing about 50, almost 51 years.
Holy cow, he's like Sonny Francis.
Right. But on 3 to 4 bids. The last bid was 27 years straight. for a phone call. And he was always seeing me in the street and, getting in trouble and trying to steer me away from the life. So he basically blackballed me with the Gambinos. And then I had to make my own path. And that's how I ended up with the Colombos.
But that's different than what's going on today from what I understand about the way the American Mafia works. It's who you know, not how you earn.
Well, let me tell you something. I knew his father from the streets as I'm a kid, like he said, because he was around, by Tough Tony and Fat Andy when they had the club over there.
And Tony Lee.
Tony Lee.
Mikey Gallo,
yeah,
his
Mikey
brother.
Gallo's brother.
Yeah.
So there was under trainer with Anthony Rusciano's father at that time.
And Anthony.
Yeah.
I met him when I was a kid.
Yeah.
When I was totally different. Like I'm talking long time ago.
But I'll tell you, when we're in Fairton in about '96, and your dad's in the machine shop, he used to hang out, stayed away. Listen, his father's a professional doing time. So when I come in there, I go stay with his father. He's got a little radio in there. He's hanging out. I'd sit with him. Jackie D'Norcio was with us in those days. Right?
Yes.
He's a Jersey boy guy from the front, funny bastard. He's
There was a
famous
movie.
for-
It was a
yeah,
movie
it's
about
movie.
him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When Vin Diesel played Jackie
Yeah.
D'Norcio.
Oh, is that the I know.
Find Me Guilty.
Yeah, Find Me Guilty. You had hair in that movie, I think,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
But your father warned me at that time because they were all into the politics, and he says to me, because Jackie had a problem at that time. Louis Arricchio, little Bobby Brooksy was there in those days. Dominic Cicali was there. I'm trying to think of some of the guys. Big Vince from Philadelphia. And as soon as I stepped in, he said to me, they're going to drag you in this. And, he says, so, do yourself a favor. He says, listen to me. Just stay busy and stay away from it because you're going to be the guy fighting, which was exactly what happened. I was the one fighting, and I didn't listen to him naturally, and I jumped in for Jackie D'Norcio. I like Jack. Jackie was a funny bastard. It's one thing about Jackie, he did good time.
But that's pretty funny because I know your story where your father had you around all these different wise guys, and that's how they sort of trusted you. Where Frankie, you had to sort of make your own way. How difficult was that?
Well, it wasn't too difficult because they knew my father. A lot of other families knew my father, so they think I came from good stock. And it made
At least
things
you're
a
trustworthy.
Yeah, it made things a little easier. And they knew he was in jail in the can all the time, and they like you better when they know some history about you. The doors are open more freely.
They don't have to
So to
vet you as
speak.
closely.
Yeah, but you still get vetted on all levels.
Right.
But it's like coming recommended, like reference letter.
Yeah.
So to speak.
You have good references.
Yeah,
But
reference letter.
now, the interesting thing about both of you is you're on different families. And I always wanted to notice, and I know a lot of our listeners want to know this. You have Colombos, Gambinos, Lucchese, Bonanno, and everything else. Was there ever any rivalry between your two families? Like, hey, I can't talk to Frankie, he's Colombo. I can't talk to John, he's Gambino.
Well, in my lifetime, in my reign when I was running around, the only time that got like that is during the Colombo War. When
You were part of that Colombo War.
Yes, that was the beginning of the end. And basically, during that time, there was a truce. The other families got together and said there'll be no shooting. And Greg Scarpa didn't want to listen. He wanted blood. And a couple of murders happened. And John Gotti sent a list to all his men and said, you can't mingle or associate or do business with any of these guys on the list. So now that list circulated around. Greg got the list. He wrote John Gotti's names on the list and sent it back. So that's a stop. It's a slap in the face.
Yeah.
Because again, Greg, even though he was working for the government for 30 years that we didn't know, he was a mad dog killer, serial killer type.
I think you had said in another thing that I watched about you where Greg Scarpa, although he's working for the government, would kill somebody right in front of you.
Yeah, whenever it surfaced, like where he was cooperating, like during the war, it came out one day. We were hunting some people down. So he came to the house, with Dunkin' Donuts and says, okay, we're going to kill a few people today. Let's eat first. So we're eating donuts, sipping the coffee. Somebody, Carmine Cesar, walked in the safe house we were in and put the newspaper down. And there it was. Jerry Capici wrote an article about Greg Sr. being a cooperator.
Yeah.
And the plan of the day was, instead of going to hunt down the Region faction members, was to kill Jerry Capici.
Yeah.
And he was really aggravated. We didn't find Jerry Capici, but we found somebody else. So in front of everybody, he killed somebody. And right then and there, it puts your mind to sleep saying there's no way this guy's cooperating because he just killed this guy in front of everybody. It puts you to a little at ease.
Yeah.
Because, in the car going there, I wasn't in Greg's car. And I was in a different car because, the shooters are in a stolen car following around, so I was talking to my friend in the car as we were going. I'm like, if this guy's, cooperating, we're finished. They're going to put us in jail forever. And then, he kills somebody. And now, you think, okay, there's no way in the world. This guy killed 50-something people, if not 100. And in the end, like when he was sick, in the end, and then the war came, I was convinced this guy wanted to get killed and go out in a blaze of glory instead of AIDS killing him like AIDS did.
Yeah.
And
But you're talking about the famous Colombo War, was it between 91 and 93? Carmine Persica comes out victorious because who was the other? He went to jail.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, basically, Carmine was in jail from the commission case,
Right.
the Windows case, it's called, with all the 5 families get 100 years each, all the heads. And he was saving the top spot for his son, Little Alley Boy, to take over when Little Alley Boy would get out. And he appointed Vic Arena as an acting boss of the family because he thought he could control him. And then John Gotti got in his ear. John Gotti got in Joe Scopo's ear.
Well, Joey Scopo, he grew up with Jeannie Gotti since they're best friends since they're kids. So when they put these guys in position, Vic goes to prison, to fast forward it, right? Mm-hmm. And then Joey steps in and he takes over as the new faction of boss of the Colombo family, that faction.
Until he was killed.
Until he's killed by, Anthony Russo was part of that team. Our other friend is involved in that.
This is like the
That Johnny
They
Papa.
don't teach this in
Johnny
Black history.
Papa.
I'm learning
Well, I'm
a
gonna
lot
tell
right
you-
now.
This is not.
I'll tell you something off of that to answer what you said and what he said. So people that understand, we're like a baseball team or a football team. Because you're playing for another team, after the game's over, we all mingle with each other.
get
We all go
drunk
drink together.
together.
We all have history with each other.
And
We're
a
all
lot
friends
of
with
a
each
lot
other.
of business deals together.
Yeah, business
Making
deals.
money's green.
Yeah. So the mob's not about fighting or killing each other. It's about really making money, just what you said. It's green. So when we're on the street, we're all friends until something, and then you got to remember, no one knows when you're not friends. During the war, they knew something was. In other words, a guy will just disappear. People don't know who hit him, and everybody goes about drinking and being friends again. And then when we go to prison, we all stay together.
Yeah.
All that's left at the door, whatever's going on in the street, and the mob guys stay together for the most part, unless they're fighting over pasta, which happens a lot.
During the war, there was a lot of murders.
Yeah.
A lot of attempted murders. A lot.
Yeah.
Like 15, 18 murders and dozens and dozens and dozens of attempted murders. And one of the guys who I knew well, who I tried to kill, when I got locked up, they put me in the cell with him.
Yeah.
So now I'm walking the cell with my bedroll, and I'll tell you who it is. It's Chicky DiMartino.
Oh, okay.
Who I love the guy. He was a great guy. And I walked in the cell, and I was like, I turned around. I thought they made a mistake. And he was like, "Oh, what's up, Steele?" Giving me a big hug. "Oh, happy to see you." And then he goes, the first thing he says, he goes, "Listen, on the street, that was business. Now everything is good.
Right.
Now we have to fight for our lives with these cases."
Yeah.
So again, he's still in jail. Hopefully he gets out one day.
It's a crazy life that people really don't understand.
Yeah.
That's
Like
what
we're
I'm
saying. You can't make sense out of something that don't make sense. But we understand it because we grew up in it. If you try to make sense of what we're saying, like he just said, I was going to kill the guy, and then he says at the same sentence, "What a great guy." And then we go on to what. That's our lives.
Listen, and I had him, John. I had him
Yeah.
in the street, and right before I was out the car window with a shotgun, and all of a sudden his daughter's head popped up in the front seat,
Yeah.
and I gave him a salute, and we left.
Right.
So it's amazing that most people can't separate business from pleasure. All right. So the fact that he said it's business actually humanizes him a lot more. Yeah. But you guys are in that life, and you have families, and you have children, and you have people who care about you. Because at the end of the day, here's what I found out about people in that life: your sons, your fathers, your brothers, your friends. And that's how I always saw them. They were my coaches. They were my friends' fathers. There is a human aspect to them that people seem to forget. And and one of the things I want to ask everybody here, because Castro, you did some time as well.
Yeah.
When you were in that type of lifestyle, what was it like? Was there anxiety about the fear of arrest, something looming over? Because this life has an expiration date.
Well, not so much a fear of arrest, because when you're in this life, you're going to jail one day.
Right.
And
It's an amazing life.
You know it. It's just a matter of when. And again, a normal day for a street guy, before you leave your house, you probably committed 4 felonies. Just getting yourself together to leave the house, arming yourself. You didn't even get to lunch yet. By the end of that day, you committed numerous felonies, and that's every day. It becomes natural.
So does it ever weigh on you at all?
I tell you what, the most intense time of my life was during the war. The things that were going on a daily basis was just crazy. And I look back at it and I like, how did I get myself involved? To put myself involved in this predicament I'm in around a maniac that had a license to kill. And we're all learning from this guy since we're young, and we think that's the way to be. Meanwhile, he had like a license to do what he was doing because he was never going to jail. And he had the best of both worlds. Everybody else that learning from him thought that was the way.
Yeah.
So technically, he was breeding a bunch of lunatics, so to speak.
And for the people that don't know, which we know, it was a different era.
Yes.
Back today, to me, I keep saying the same thing. The guys now, whether they're tough or not, is a joke compared to back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, because there was consequences for every move. Every time you left that house, if you went and stepped out the wrong way or spoke out of line, you're getting killed.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't go on. But back then, it's a serious life. So all the fakers, they stood to the side because they knew you disrespect the guy, they're not going to probably tell you about it. You robbed the wrong guy, they're not going to tell you about it. You're just going to get hit. You're going to and you're going to disappear, or you're going to be left in the
You're
street.
going to be
bed.
quietly murdered and disappeared.
Well, Francesi was a Colombo as well.
Like that no more.
Sonny?
So Michael.
Michael? Yes, he was. I never met him, but I heard about his whole racket and the gas tax scams for years. That was like a big thing. How this guy made big money. Right. But his father I knew.
Oh, you knew Sonny?
Yeah, I was in prison with him.
God,
he taught me the basics of pinochle.
Pinocchle's a fun game, though.
Yeah, double deck. He was like a genius.
Well, there was a race between his father and Sonny who was going to do more time.
Well, I think Sonny lasted till about 103.
Yeah, he went in, what do you call that, a centurion or something, when he passed 100?
Yeah. So
I'll never see that day.
A guy in that lifestyle, apparently, from what I read about Sonny, he was a tough bastard. And he lasted that long?
Here's what I give it. Guys who do a lot of time, you get like preserved. Like when my father got out, like he died at 85 because he killed himself, and I'll tell you how that. He didn't commit suicide, but I'll go through that. But he had a full head of hair. He was 85 years old. He looked like he was like 60 tops, 64.
Right.
Preserved. All those years, not drinking, not like doing anything.
You're not staying out all night. You're not abusing yourself.
So that's why Sonny Francis can go past 100. If my father didn't like to drink when he got out, he was lost because all his friends were dead. He only had very little friends left. So his day would be go to the nearest bar, try to pick up the youngest girl, get drunk.
It's my hero.
And then drive home.
It's a perfect life. I can't blame the guy.
Okay.
I don't blame you. Perfect
Oh,
life.
you two seem to have gotten out okay. I mean, you don't have a wrinkle on your face, Frankie. And
Yeah.
John, look at this guy.
Yeah.
He's
He's
Now,
the
you guys
movie.
look good, man.
Listen, I
You
know
guys
he's got
look
the
good.
vampire gene in there somewhere.
He
don't age, yeah.
well, he drinks. He has to drink
The Omnicron.
Yeah, the
Baby's
Omnicron blood.
Yeah,
Baby's
yeah,
blood or
yeah.
something, right?
I need a
the
gallon
black
of that
one.
right now.
It's the black chicks, huh?
But
Everybody knows I talk about equality on this show. So
There's more that
I
brings us
understand.
together
That's right.
and tears us apart.
I hate anybody who's racist.
That's
So
right.
I noticed that the guys who do like, 25 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50, and if they do make it out, or even the ones that are in jail who've been in, like I've been, You know, when I was 22 years old, I was right in Lewisburg Penitentiary. I was the youngest guy in that prison when I got there. And you got guys that were in there for 30 years, 40 years. Great shape. Bionic, on the weight pile. Bionic. You know? And the best guys in shape were all the dope fiends.
Yeah,
I don't know how. I don't know how.
Yeah, that's one thing I don't know how.
Is heroin a steroid?
Listen,
I
I
don't
used to
understand.
do burpees with him, and I used Joe McGee when he was on the street. Right, he was, he fucked around with heroin like crazy. He'd do burpees all day. He used to do burpees with me. I'm like, how is this guy doing a couple thousand burpees like this? You know, not like, and you just heard me right, because somebody says, oh, they're full of shit. They didn't do burpees like that. We did 2,000 push-ups a day. We do 2,000 burpees a day, split sessions. And Joe would hit 2,000 straight sometimes. He'd stay there for whatever hours, 4 hours, 3 hours, 2 hours, and hit them. And they do it on a count.
I used to sit there and watch from across the yard the dope fiends working out. And it almost made me want to do heroin.
Yeah.
And I'm not a junkie. I never did a drug in my life, but it was making them skinny and bionic.
Yeah. It's true.
To that point, I've seen pictures of you. I've actually commented on one of the pictures of you. You're like shredded. I don't understand how you can be in prison and be that shredded.
He'll tell you I worked out day and night, so I did.
He worked out. He'd run miles.
Damn.
And I was just sitting there and watching him run around. And I'm just hating myself. I'm just running around. But listen, I lost a lot of weight in prison. Gained it all back when I got out. But I went from like 340 pounds to 190. People thought I was dying. He's got cancer. I said, no, I just went on the Atkins. But
The Lewisburg Atkins stuff?
Yeah. Who don't like a diet? You could eat pepperoni all you want and cheese. Pepperoni and cheese until you throw up. You know? That's a great diet. I love Mr. Atkins.
Yeah. So we're going out for pepperoni and cheese
Yeah.
today.
Well, he'll tell you, we got pepperoni, cheese, and anything else we wanted in one prison we were in later on, Allenwood. Listen, we actually, they did it was on 2020, I believe. They did a show on The Sopranos about us.
Yeah.
And you explain it. I mean, we destroyed that prison, actually.
Well, here's how it started with me. All right, first of all, let's just get the backstory first. Do we have time for the backstory?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. In 1992, in MCC, there was an associate warden, and her name was Susan Galinsky.
Yeah.
Hope you're watching.
Yeah, so do I.
I hope you're watching. So she was an associate warden.
And she was a drunk, by the way.
For years, I had some ill will towards her, but I would like to see her, just have a drink with her, But let's go back up. So now it's 1992. I'm in MCC, and again, back then, MCC was a loose place. If you had money, you can get whatever you want. And one day, on a visit, one of the Chinese guys we hung out with, he gives me a list that's in Chinese. And he goes, give this list to your sister. Go to this address on the list in Chinatown. Give it to my family member. Let them give all that stuff to your sister. Make your sister bring it in. And there was a way we were getting the food in, with the cops. And at that time, John Gotti was there. Gas Pipe came afterwards. So the money was nonstop. We were eating stuff that was made in Little Italy an hour ago. And we were eating it fresh in the cell.
Mike Dow was the prison guard?
No, Mike Dow was on the other floor. But it got to the point. So now my sister takes this list. She gets all this stuff. And on the visit, she's like, listen, Frankie, there was like some dead stuff in there. I couldn't see what it was. It was wrapped up with some type of animals. So now I get the stuff. And I didn't open it yet. All I'm trying to hear, shake down. So now the cops are going to come shake down all the cells. So now I got these things wrapped up and they look like little something like an alien. The alien babies in the alien ship? They're wrapped up like an alien from the movie. So I cut one open with my tuna fish can because I got the tuna fish can bent. So that's my ginsu knife. I cut it open and I'm looking at this bloody thing. So then I see the head of this bird. So I grabbed the head. So I shake it. All of a sudden it unfolded and there it was flapping. It was a duck. Okay, with the big duck feet. And I had two of them. So now they're coming to shake down. They want us out of the cell. So I'm taking the tuna can and I'm dissecting the duck and I'm flushing it down. Okay? So I get one duck down, but there's blood everywhere. Okay? So now I got the other duck and I'm trying to cut it with, I look like a mass murderer in the cell, right? And I'm cutting the duck with the tuna can.
It was alive?
No, it was dead. It had no feathers. It was bloody.
Oh.
I was just wrapped up like a cocoon. I was even alive. I was gonna breathe.
They sent y'all. That's what they sent y'all like
The Chinese wanted raw duck. So now I get the other duck and I get it almost down, and I flush it. Now I'm waiting to hear blah 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 blah. All of a sudden the foot came flying up and was looking right at me. So now I try to get it again and flush. Now they pull me out of the cell because I'm taking way too long. They need to search. I never made it back to that cell.
damn.
All right. I heard my name, Pontillo, office. So now I go to the office. The CO says, listen, you got to go down to the lieutenant wants to speak to you. So now I said, all right. So now I said, okay, I'm going to go to the hall. I'm definitely going to the hall for this. So I go downstairs. I'm thinking they found the pasta and the garlic and some other stuff, the normal stuff.
Right.
I don't think the duck, was there. I thought the body was gone.
Right.
Okay. So now I go downstairs. I walk into the lieutenant's office. It's Susan Galinsky and the lieutenant and another officer. So now I see this stack of all spaghetti, all the chico pasta and spaghetti and linguine, heads of garlic. And then I see it. I didn't see it at first when I walked in. And there it is on the table, the duck foot.
Oh.
Okay? Yeah, it's a complete web, all right? With the little piece of duck on it, little leg left. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh. So now the lieutenant's looking at me with a smile because he's ready to burst out laughing because when he sees I see that, he knows but he's on the payroll too.
Right.
But Susan Galinsky, she's not. So now she's like, so where'd you get this from? Where'd you get that from? And where'd you get the chicken? I says, the chicken came from downstairs from the mess hall. It was sent up. It's a chicken. And I took my hand, and I slapped the foot across the desk into the little bucket, right? And they goes, you're going to the hall. I said, okay. So now they cuff me. I'm going away to the hall. Now the lieutenant gets up that was trying to keep a straight face. And he says, she's a fucking moron, right? A chicken. Anybody knows it's a duck. I was like, yeah. So now I go to the hole. I get back out of the hole. There's like nothing even happened. I get back out a few days later. I go back to the tier. They got the whole thing out again. Stuff from Denoy.
Right.
It's all cooked nice. Linguine, clams, everything. Lobster tails, shrimps the size of my hand. They're drinking like Louis the 13th. It's just pure insanity. Now, I get sent off to Lewisburg. This is 1993. Now, I go to Lewisburg. My level drops to a medium. So I went from maximum security to medium security. So
Wait, this was a maximum security prison. You're getting all this good stuff in there?
no, that was
That's MCC.
That was
Okay.
MCC. That was the Metropolitan Correctional Center,
Okay.
where you wait pre-trial before you get sentenced. So at that time, John Gotti, he went to Marion. Gas pipe flipped, and he disappeared. And a couple other big money guys disappeared. So now we're back to ramen noodles and tuna. And now I go to Lewisburg. So now that's 93. I stay in Lewisburg to 98, and now my level drops. They did a whole different reevaluation. So I went from maximum security to medium security. So now they're going to send me to the prison with my father. The judge recommended it, so now I'm going to go see my father now. I'm going to be with him now. I haven't seen him, for a long time on the street. He was always in jail. So now I'm going to get to hang out with my father in jail. I was happy. I'm thinking I'm going to Fairton Prison. They send me to Cumberland, Maryland. Now, I was in Cumberland, Maryland for a couple of years, and then they did the re-system again, and I got reevaluated. And that's how I ended up in Allenwood. Yeah. So now, I have no idea. Now, remember the woman I told you, Susan Galinsky, right? Okay. She was an associate warden in MCC in 93, 92, 91. After associate warden, what's the next level you go to?
Warden.
Exactly. So now I don't notice. And when you come into any prison, when you walk it in R&D, there's pictures on the wall of who the hierarchy is. Like, the mall picture has the boss, the concierge, the underboss. Well, they have that in the lobbies of all the prisons of who's who. I didn't look. I wasn't looking at that. I was just happy I'm going to be with my friends. Everybody's here, I didn't even put my bedroll on the bunk. The cop came to me and says, Pontillo, the warden wants to see you. I go, all right. Yeah, in the cafeteria. It was lunchtime. So I go to the mess hall. I walk in the mess hall, and I spotted her. And she spotted me. Like, our eyes locked at the same time, and she went like this. Okay? I don't want to see this lady. I don't want to be in the same prison with this lady. She goes, "Hey, Steele," like that. "Hey, Steele." I'm like, "Hi, Miss Galinsky." She goes, "This is my place. I run this." I says, "What do you mean?" She goes, "I'm the warden here." Now, you know, like in a movie where your stomach just drops.
All right.
And I was like, "Oh man," to myself. I'm like, "I'm done." She goes, "Well, listen." She goes, "You're not gonna turn my prison into a circus, and I'm watching you. Anything you do, I'm gonna know."
Wow.
I says, "You're not even gonna hear out a peep out of me. I'm on Hollywood mode now. I'm a screenwriter." Right?
That's right. You had the screen. You were writing. I forgot it. You was writing movies while we were in there.
Yeah. I learned how to write movies from a real screenwriting professor.
Yeah.
Who actually was addicted to cocaine and strippers. So when he would teach his class at the college, during lunch, he'd go rob a bank. Got caught. So I learned how to write screenplays from him. So by the time I got to that prison, I told her I was on movie mode. I says, "I'm writing movies now. I'm a screenwriter. You're not going to know I'm here." Little did I know, within a week, she had an FBI investigation on me just to watch me because there was corrupt things going on there. Now I go back to the block and I start mingling with all my friends I haven't seen for years. Guys that grew up in the street, guys I haven't, it was like the whole neighborhood was here. It was great. Everybody from the neighborhood was
we
in.
were all there.
Everybody from Brooklyn, Long Island, Jersey, Queens, Manhattan.
Should have told her you were writing a movie about how to
All the
smuggle
Philly
smuggle
guys,
stuff into prison.
all the Philly guys.
Yeah,
Turks
all the
and
Philly,
stuff.
all the Philly guys. So
Whip.
everybody, it was like a great crew, you know. It was just so many guys, and it was just laughing every day and working out. You know, it was just a great time, and they had all the cops on the payroll. So that's all I had to hear. So now I'm like, okay, I haven't had Genoa salami in a while. I need about 5 pounds of it. You know, I haven't had
Again,
lobster.
keto.
Yeah, I haven't had lobster tails in so long. I need a dozen. And I told my friend, I says, Eddie Rendini, I says, you got the guy in Brooklyn, Coluccio, on 60th Street, the distributor with all this stuff. He goes, yeah. I go, we need to make a few packages, and before you knew it, all the cops were bringing everything
We had
in.
the whole jail. All of us had guys.
Yeah.
Cell phones, food.
You guys are selling a pretty good deal for prison.
Listen, it got to the point.
Movie out there.
Listen, it got to the point. Not even no joke. Every infomercial that I was watching at nighttime, like for different products, I was ordering it through the cop.
How about Miguel? Miguel was getting steroids. He was turning people.
Yeah.
He was
red. He was red as that car.
Yeah, he was
Like
red.
a lobster.
We're telling him, listen, they're gonna know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're being
Yeah.
red.
It's the middle of winter. Everybody looks like they could model a coffin.
Yeah.
And this guy was red as the flag.
He's
But all
benching
bulked up.
150. Son's benching like 350.
Yeah, when I was a kid, the staple for me was to come downstairs, pour myself a bowl of cereal, put that cereal box right in front of me, and read the box. And it was great. I did it every single morning. As I got older, I realized all the garbage that was in those cereals, the sugar, the chemicals. I didn't want to take away that staple to my children, so I had to seek out healthy alternatives, and Magic Spoon answered that.
Well, I had a similar experience because of my father. He always wanted us eating healthy with vitamins and working out. And when Magic Spoon stepped in, it's tasty and it's very healthy for you. There's no sugars and it's low calorie and it's everything I'm looking for a healthy cereal for me and my family.
Well, a lot of people like to cut carbs these days. I think there's like 4 net grams of carbs in there. So if you're looking for a healthy lifestyle alternative, but you don't want to give up all the good stuff, that's where Magic Spoon comes in.
Magic Spoon, 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and only 4 net grams of carbs in each serving. Only 140 calories per serving. They're also keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, and low-carb. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it backed it with 100% happiness guaranteed. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. So click the link below and use the code ELITE for $5 off. Also, for my Canadian and British fans, Magic Spoon is shipping to Canada and the UK.
So he's doing the steroids. It got to the point where I wanted to see my file, my central file.
Yeah.
So we had the cop get my central file. Now back then it really wasn't computers and everything. They had computers, but it was a hard file that followed you through your whole bid. So I was like, I don't want to say his name because he probably has a normal job now. They probably retired, right?
They're all retired. They gotta be.
All right, his name was Mark James.
You had
All right,
Mark
he's
James,
a
we had
fuck.
Swinefoot,
Yeah.
we had
No, Swinefoot was a
Flash.
good guy.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, Swinefoot was a good guy. Flash was up. Flash is the one that
Yeah.
later on gets caught and
Yeah.
he calls me up and tries to wire up on the phone. I knew right away. I go, I ain't getting on that phone. I know I'm done here.
So I says, look, I want to see my file. So I go to the office. He hands it to me in a bag. Now I take it in my laundry bag. I go to my cell, and I'm reading what they know about me now. So now it's like I got the CIA file on Frankie Steele, and I'm looking at the pages. And I'm like, I don't think this should be in here. I start ripping the pages out of the file that I don't want now. So I'm cleaning my own file. All right. I went from maximum security to like a camp. I was just ripping all this stuff out, all the bad stuff. And then I'm starting seeing who my separatees were.
Yeah.
You know, you see all these names that you're not supposed to. And it was just a wild time. So between the file and then infomercials, like I saw stuff for a juicer. Remember when I had the juicer?
Yeah, I remember.
Okay, so now
This is
Bro, you got a
absolute
juicer?
insanity.
listen,
Bro, you got a juicer?
Listen, I got a juicer. I never used a juicer in my life. So I got the guy in the kitchen bring me carrots. I go, I want a lot of carrots. He brings like a garbage bag, literally like a garbage bag of carrots. So now I had to wait for the good cop to come on. So now I got carrots, apples, this and that. So everybody knows I got this thing. So now everybody's got their cups ready to go. So all you heard, all right, for an hour straight was me in the cell going, so right, so I'm making all this juice, right? Now at this particular thing, it was pods. So we had one bathroom with 4 toilets. Okay. So everybody, I got like 50 guys have juice. We're drinking it like it's the best thing ever. Okay. Within an hour, all you heard was flushing. Everybody's lined up. Who's shitting their pants? Who's not making it? Who's right? Who's doing a fart? And it's not a fart, it's water. All right. So I blew out the whole block with the juicer the first time we used it. The whole block was done.
I'm going to. That's it. You guys got me convinced.
Listen, we
I'm
had-
going away.
We bring in sperm kits to get people's wives pregnant on the street. We did everything. Actually, I mean, it was insane what we did to her.
cryogenic.
She didn't know how to control us.
No, the warden knew what was going on, but it was insane because she didn't know what cops were really doing it until they sent an infiltrator.
Yeah.
Okay, and the infiltrator got us good.
Oh yeah.
So besides, like there was crazy products. Like I was watching this thing. The ladies on there, yeah, you could trim the hair in your nose and just go with the little machine. So I'm like, I gotta have that, because I'm using a little small like scissor. Now I don't know that you're not supposed to take the metal thing off. So I was like, because he didn't bring the box or the instructions. So I got this little lipstick thing, right? I pulled the metal thing off and I'm looking at it and there's a razor blade spinning, right? I'm like, that's supposed to go in your nose? What's the safety barrier on this thing? So now Kevin says, just stick it in your nose. I bled for 4 days. Listen, I needed stitches. Really, I needed stitches. I had a sock up my nose just to stop the blood for 4 days.
Oh, she listen. She tortures us after that.
Oh.
You ever watch Great Escape?
Oh yeah.
Steve
yeah.
McQueen, you're always
Sure.
going to the hole. I was in the hole, out of the hole, back to the hole. I was in a hole for
Right.
whatever. But I go home from the hole. She 4 points me. Remember I was telling you about?
Yeah,
She
yeah,
4 points
yeah.
me. Then she chains me to the guard's chairs in the hole because I'm sick, and she won't send me out. She won't send me out to get medical attention. These guys know I'm sick. She won't send me out. She's got me chained like a dog in my underwear to the guard. Whoever's the guard on duty, I'm chained to him. But I go home. When I go home, these guys are still writing me.
Now he's home. Now it's on. Now we get.
he go home?
He goes
I
home.
go home from the
Now
hole.
he's meeting the guards, bringing the packages.
But
Yes.
they got us though. They got us on video.
You're,
They got
you're a
us set up.
screenwriter.
Yeah.
You're a screenwriter.
Yeah.
Why the hell aren't you writing this one? Because
yeah.
this is
It's coming.
freaking hilarious.
It was so crazy. It was the things that they were bringing in and the things that I was cooking in the microwave was just crazy. It was a good time until the day where I heard my name. And Pontillo, lieutenant's office on the loudspeaker. So I'm like, oh, okay. And then as I was coming out of the block, I saw all different Italians, all handcuffed, going to the lieutenant's office. And that was the day of the end.
When you guys all went to, they go to the hole. I'm getting phone calls. Anybody would have vowed because I left from the hole. I was in the hole about a year. When I leave from the hole, these guys are all going to the hole, and I get that phone call, and I go, oh, we're done. Maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, they raid my property, like 10, 12, 15 agents. And it's five,
you
the
went
time they
home?
come.
Yeah.
I'm home.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's 5 a.m. They roll over my property.
They raided you for jail shit?
Yeah. So they.
He was meeting the cop.
I'm meeting the
Oh.
cop.
and
So
there were videoing it.
yeah.
Oh,
so when they
shit.
raid my house, I'm thinking they got me for RICO, murders, this, that, the other thing. So when they
For a
lock
fucking
me up,
juicer.
so I went, listen, we're not really doing anything bad. It's just it's juicer, it's
Compared to
food,
what-
it's sperm kits. It
Listen,
ain't
John,
like drugs or nothing
yeah,
like that.
Compared to what we used to do,
Oh, yeah, it
this
was
is like
nothing.
not even a crime.
Yeah.
But they take it serious. They call it bribing a public official.
Yeah. So when they come and they got me all locked up, I'm not even thinking. I think it's something real serious. There's too many people. And I said to them, what am I getting charged with anyway? And when they told me that, I was relieved. I'm thinking I'm getting hit with
I'm
bodies.
gonna tell you how it went. It went like this. So listen. So what am I here for? Listen. We know it was you that was bringing in them carrots in that big black bag.
No, he
the
was
rest of the
he was the sperm kits and,
Oh, the
and
sperm-
the
I was
lobster
a
tails.
sperm-
Hold on, who was the
And the
sperm
lobster
kid?
tails.
Sperm kids, lobster tails, and
Having
bottles
kids.
of wine. That's what I was
They
doing.
weren't
What was
preloaded, were they?
Yeah.
Wait, what was the sperm kits for?
To have a kid.
One of my friends wanted to have a kid because
Yeah.
he got like 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
With his
15 years,
wife?
I believe.
With
With
his
his
wife,
wife.
yeah.
Was
And they didn't have in the feds. You can't.
No, you don't get
no?
conjugals. No.
Oh, shit.
So what I was getting the sperm kits. You know what I did? I would bring my kids up, and they go to lizard zoos and everything. And I had a custom van. A friend of mine was involved too, so we'd bring a custom van. I'd make a little like trip for my kids. I go to the thing. I spend the day with them while they fill up the sperm kits. When the cop that's working that we have finishes his shift, he brings it back out to me.
Yeah.
I freeze it and I drive it into the sperm banks in New York. Oh, so now they say
So technically,
So you
know,
that,
yeah, I
that's
would-
a business right
see,
there.
I would get it from the cop, the kit,
Yeah.
give it to who wants it, then get it from who wants it, back to the cop, back to John. So technically, I held the kid first.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to tell you something.
Technically.
You know how I knew I was in trouble too? Charlie Ray, right? This is the guy that's infiltrated.
That was the infiltrator.
He's the infiltrator. His father lives in Kentucky, and they want to do a dump in Kentucky besides this. So he's trying to set me up for a serious bit. You know, this guy, Charlie Ray. So when I'm calling the house to talk to his father about going to see him, and they said they have some politicians that are going to work with me, blah, blah, blah. The father's new wife starts tipping me on the phone. Something's wrong. And I'm like, why is she doing this? And she was trying to tell me. So then one day, finally, I don't know how she did it. She got me to call another number. And when I called it, she goes, don't call anymore. They're trying to set you up. And she hung up. And I don't know why she let me know, but she let me know. And I'm like, oh, this guy's, forget about the sperm and all that nonsense and the lobster. That's nothing. They were trying to get me on, a life sentence with politicians. I guess they had a politician that was dirty. They got him. He was setting the guy. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what the technical besides the rest of that was.
The aftermath of this whole ordeal, of the circus that we turned Susan Galinski's prison into. Hi, Susan. And I ended up
Susan
doing.
chained me to those chairs. Susan,
Listen.
that wasn't a nice thing.
She did a lot to us.
Yeah, she did
She
to us.
put us
She
in
got
her,
even with us.
her dungeon and just forgot about us.
Well, you guys got a lot worse because
Yeah.
I got home
Yeah.
after a year. You guys stayed
No,
there.
I had to stay in the hole for 36 months. And after 36 months, I got put on a Con Air airplane. Remember the movie Con Air?
Sure.
Okay, that's real. I was on that for 4 months. My feet never touched the ground.
You was on a fucking plane for 4 months?
Yeah. No, I would come off at night,
Oh.
walk on the slinky into the jail that comes right onto tarmac, and then the next day wake up and go back on the slinky, back on, and get on the plane. And the pilots are military pilots. They used to fly in, fighter jets, F-16. So now you learn firsthand what a jumbo jet can actually do.
Yeah.
Okay? And I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
It got to the point where I was praying we crashed just to get off. Because every day when we take off, it's a straight run. And then all of a sudden it's like this, the space shuttle, straight up. You don't even know what a jumbo jet could do this. And you're going straight in the sky like you're in a ride, like a roller coaster ride.
Damn.
And these pilots are probably giggling
Oh,
their
yeah.
ass off.
Yeah.
Say,
Yeah,
we're gonna
they're all
send-
strapped in, eating Krispy Kreme. I didn't know what Krispy Kreme was until it was on the plane. And I was looking at the box and they were eating it. And
Oh, she hammered you guys.
and they're all strapped in the first time. I was like, oh, these guys, what, they're strapped in like they're going to NASA, like something from NASA. And now I know why. Because we're not strapped in. We're chained, belly chained, black boxed, so you really can't
Yeah,
move,
yeah.
and then chained to the floor.
Oh, man.
So we have some playroom. So when they're doing these crazy maneuvers with the jumbo jet, you feel it.
You got to do it like the vomit comet where they train the
Listen,
astronauts.
The first week I was ready to throw up. I got used to it because you remember I was immobile. I was inside a hole for all these years.
Right.
I didn't even move. I was walking. That when I first was taking my steps, my whole feet got black and blue, just for walking. You know.
Well, you brought up a name that I wanted to talk about. So you brought up Gas Pipe Casso.
Yeah.
All right. So Gas Pipe, he's in prison. He flips.
All right. I wasn't there for the flipping. I was there for when he first got locked up. We heard on the radio that Gas Pipe got locked up, and all of a sudden, boom, he just popped up on 11 North,
Right.
11 South, in MCC. And at the time, Greg Scarpa was locked up. He just got locked up because he just got his eye shot out. So now we have Greg Scarpa looking like Freddy Krueger with no eye, with one eye missing, with a piece of ass skin sewn in here with a little drain valve. Okay,
Ass
yeah,
skin.
with a piece of ass skin. That was what they put for his eye because he got his eye shot out a couple like weeks before. And so now it's Greg Scarpa, and all of a sudden I was like, Greg, they just locked up Gas Pipe. Oh yeah, maybe we'll get lucky and we'll put on our floor. Sure enough, here he comes. Yeah. Like the speak of the devil. He was popping up, and now we have Gas Pipe, and then it only took him a matter of time to get the cops on the payroll because money was no object to him.
Right.
You know, he was just sending $50,000 bundles to cops and say, okay, now I'll tell you what I need.
You know, his brother had a restaurant. I used to go to his brother's restaurant in Freehold, and I met him from our other friend Frankie, who knew him, and so we'd go in and see him. His brother's some businessman actually. He ran a good restaurant, a pizzeria restaurant, but a nice spot. And then his illegitimate son Anthony was in touch with me for a while, and he would hang around, and you know, you'd hear some crazy stories. I mean, he's another guy. That's why when Sammy's talking bullshit about Gas Pipe, come on, everybody was petrified of the guy. The guy was a beast when he was on the street killing and whatever he was doing. He was no dummy. He had a ton of money.
Yeah.
So when they're talking about, you know, when Sammy said something about, oh, this guy was a dummy, he was no fucking dummy. Far from it. You know, maybe not book smart, but smart.
There's two different types of
Dummies blow their
intelligence.
money. Dummies don't keep their money. You're right.
Yeah.
But
Right.
with somebody like Gas Pipe, who's just from what I understand, a stone cold killer, and he flips, and there's this code of silence inside that life that I'm sure everybody here is well aware of. We've seen it in movies 1,000 times. You guys lived it. Is that a myth or is that reality?
You want to answer that?
Oh, no, you can start it. I'll finish it.
In the old days, it was a reality. Now it's a myth. Because what happened was after Rico comes in, and I've done this on so many shows, you have Joe Messina wearing a wire. You have 15 of his captains all ratting, the whole Bonanno family. Later on after
Al
the wars,
Diaco.
Al Diaco
Al Diaco,
goes.
the boss.
Boss of the Lucchese family, he goes. Sammy Gravano, he goes. Junior goes in.
It started the trend.
Junior
It
Gotti,
started the trend.
And he's making meetings with the government. So he goes. You got all his captains, Mikey's goes, they're going. You have the whole Colombo family after the wars. They all start going, and you got guys that are undercover, like you just said, Greg Scarpa, and and then so you got every family. You got Chucky Porter in Pittsburgh that's going. You have the guys in Chicago that went. You have as you go through this, you have Whitey Bulger with the Irish crew. He goes. So where is this nonsense of the old life? The problem is people live off of the movies and the old life that don't exist in the new life. Because things evolve, and when things evolve and people are getting hit with 200 and 300 years, it's over.
Right.
It's not the same government, it's not the same system, it's not the same laws. So when you could go in and take a boss and they're telling guys to wear their underwear to get straightened out. Now, the guy that's getting straightened out should tell the boss, well, you getting your underwear too because you guys are wearing wires.
And Joe Messina was very lucky because after the Donnie Brasco fiasco, the Bonannos are the only ones that survived because they got kicked off the commission, and they were outside of the commission case. But at what point during your involvements did you start to see this myth and say, you know what, I've had enough?
Well, after you do a big bid, once you go to jail and you're there a few years and you realize that the thing you believed in, this life, and how the love, the respect, the honor is what gives you the drive to be a part of it. And then when you go to prison, you see there is no love, respect, and honor. You're forgotten about. Unless you have big money before you go to prison, like in the movies, they think they take care of everybody. They don't. it's like you're forgotten about. And that puts a little bad taste in your mouth. And as years pass, you see things a lot differently than you did when you were on the other side of the bar. When you're on these side of the bars looking out, it's a totally different life.
Well, and I'm going to tell you why also. If you watch in the Army, in the wars, guys go into this thing at a young age. When they sign up to go to war,
I know you
17, 18, 19, 20, because we're very easy to maneuver. We'll kill, we'll do whatever you want because we're looking up to guys, just like guys do for the Army. They think it's glorified because you watch too many movies. But then when you see the actual action and guys are coming home or not coming home or coming home without legs and arms and limbs,
Section 8.
and the real world hits effect, then it starts changing. I mean, there's some real guys that just totally believe in this life.
Yeah.
There's some.
There's still a few die-hard people.
I mean,
out
just
there,
recently,
even in this day and
I'll
age.
tell you, even now, you have a guy, Patty Della Russo. I don't know if you know who
I
that
know
is.
him. I know
Okay,
him.
you
I know. I
Patty.
was with him.
I was
know
very good friends with him.
Yeah.
All right. I know him since we were kids. And, I like him. Right.
He was a very likable guy.
Yeah, very
I had
likable.
nothing but
Intelligent.
good things to say with
Okay.
him.
And, they say that he got a position with the Lucchese family, right? Now, the old days, you got to get killed to get out, right? Or you're not getting out. Now, he's another guy who wasn't feeling well. He had cancer at one time.
He did.
Okay.
He had leukemia.
Yeah,
he had a port.
Yeah.
Back in the day. I
Yes.
remember.
And he's retired. And I wasn't sure at first, is he really retired or is he not retired? He's retired because I ran into a couple of people. I grew up with me. Another one of Eddie. I don't know if you met Eddie Hannon back then. He was Patty's cellmate. His cousin just ran it to me and verified it again. He goes, no, he's done. He just stepped
Well,
out of
there's
the
another
store.
there's another guy that did the same thing.
yeah.
The two brothers that were close to
Yeah.
Patty, Sally and Avellino.
Oh, I know the Avelinos. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know the son.
He
I didn't
kind of
know the
retired
father,
himself
yeah.
too.
So they're allowing it now because it's a different life.
Different era.
And it's a
This
different
never would have got.
Yeah.
Well,
he's
it's a
another
lot of it
guy.
I heard from is from Rico too.
Yeah,
Rico killed.
But he's a
everything.
guy.
So
too.
you saying-
Patty
so-
did 15 years? too. I mean, he did a lot of time.
Yeah,
I think
he
he might
did.
have did a little more than that, but he did at least 15. And when guys are walking away, they're understanding. You know what? I'm done here. It's over. He had health issues, so that contribute. So it's probably a little easier for him to walk away than the next guy because he had health issues, and I'm just assuming he might have health issues again.
Hold on. Yo, I gotta say, this is amazing. I'm with Frank almost every day, and I know he got a whole bunch of shit in his head. I just don't pick sometimes, you know what I mean? But damn, I learned a lot. Y'all want to hear some Black Wall stories? Some black people.
That's another show, my friend.
Right there.
I can tell you my
I tell you about
neighborhood.
Crackhead Sound. I'll tell you about him.
I stayed with a lot of black gangsters all my life because of where I come from. I grew up in, on the south side of Jamaica. I was there a lot, and I was in East New York and Brownsville with my friends. I talk about these guys all the time. Listen, and Frankie will tell you, because we've been around and he's been around forever. A gangster is a gangster. A tough guy is a tough guy. Their religion or their color doesn't make that man. So when someone's talking about whether it's Bumpy Johnson or you're talking about Fat Cat and those guys in South
Bumpy
Jamaica,
Johnson, that's
or you're talking about guys that grew up with TT and these guys in Brownsville, these are street guys. And so I always say the same thing. You ain't fooling a street guy. So when, I get into politics a lot where they trying to divide people and bullshit people.
Yeah.
And they're kneeling down for George Floyd where they could give a shit if George Floyd died 20 times over. So, I always get into because guys from the street understand, that's bullshit.
It is
just call
bullshit.
it what it is. He shouldn't have died, but
When
he
I was up north, I got plenty of crackhead
But we
soups
shouldn't,
from white guys that I ain't have. No, they would help me more than my brothers would help me in
Wait,
prison.
the funny
Dead
thing
ass.
about everybody in this room, you've reinvented yourself.
Yeah.
You took this, whatever you did in the past. I'm a big believer in second chances. So whatever you did in the past doesn't make a difference. It's what you're doing today. John, what you do today, you go out and you speak to these young kids about losing portions of your life.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, and I just
That's what you're doing? That's what's up,
yeah,
man.
I speak. I go to high schools, colleges, juvenile centers. I talk. But what I want to finish up is George Floyd's no different than us, right? We did some bad things. We didn't deserve to die by a bad cop's hand.
Yeah.
But it still doesn't make us heroes. Right?
Yeah.
And he, in my eyes, I feel bad that he lost his life because I was just like him. But you shouldn't have statues of him. Statues of Martin Luther King Jr. Statues are of Marines that have fallen for this country. There's a difference, right? I don't believe that. Again, I don't believe he should have died. Just like some of the beatings we caught and things happened.
Yeah.
And but when our politicians are kneeling down for him, and they're trying to con us. Come on.
Yeah.
Who's stupid enough to believe this?
That's where you guys should. You
Trying to
guys
create a
really
race
want to.
war.
Yeah,
You
that's
guys
what
really
they're
want to be
trying to
gangsters. You should have been politicians. I hate to tell you.
No, they're the real gangsters.
But you do the mobsters versus so you've reinvented yourself a
I-
totally different
Listen,
way.
I've been reinventing myself my whole life.
Yeah.
I see it.
You know, like I evolved. But before we get into that, I just want to say one thing. We talk about these stories. Yeah, they're funny jail stories, but there's nothing glorious about it. And that life is really a treacherous life, and I'm happy to be away from it. You know, and I would hope that anybody listening, if they're in that life or thinking it's good and it's the greatest thing, it's really not.
Frankie,
You know, it's not.
we know, like we're joking about it, and it is fun.
Yeah,
We had a
it's-
ball together. We're all friends, but we're not telling the parts when you're crying in those cells. We're not telling those parts when our families members are sick with cancer, or people died, or one of our friends got killed on the street. We're not telling that part.
You're not telling the part where you're sitting alone at night after thinking about the things that you did on the street, and I know it affected everybody. I know it does because you're human.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, you think about a lot of your past at times, and like for instance, let's go back. Like, I was 22 years old, convicted with a pre-sentence report with life, and now I'm sitting in my cell and I'm like, my whole life's gone, you know. But because of Greg Scarpa being a cooperator, we did get a second chance for a technicality.
Nice.
You know,
Loopholes.
You know,
Well,
and
I don't want to cut you up, but I'm going to tell you one thing, and you can go into it. I was diagnosed with PTSD, and you do something and work with something with PTSD. Just tell us about it after you
well,
finish.
just recently, like, I'm friends with these retired law enforcement individuals.
You're friends with one right now.
Yes, and I just have a new friend, and they're a great bunch of guys, and they put together. They have a radio show called the 99% Radio Show, and it's all made up of retired law enforcement and military veterans, and they made like a little motorcycle club, and they all stick together.
They deep as hell.
And they are deep. They're in all kinds of different countries and different chapters, and they really are close bunch of guys. And they showed us, myself and a couple of my friends who I met them through, nothing but love and respect. And I did a podcast with them a couple of times. I did a live meet and greet with them in Texas. I'll do anything for these guys. They're a good bunch of guys. And there's an organization called Walk the Bridge, Heroes Memorial Park Bridge, where all these first responders and retired military and law enforcement all get together, and they walk this bridge in honor of all the military first responders and law enforcement who committed suicide from PTSD. And it's an organization that lets other, retired law enforcement or active first responders, military, active, non-active, that they're
I was involved in a police shooting. All right, nearly took my life. Screwed me up so bad where I've had multiple suicide attempts. My wife, I don't know how she stayed with me. Go from 0 to 100.
Shout out to her.
Absolutely. My wife's name is Tricia. Couldn't sleep. I wake up so wet, I think I'd piss myself. And this is, again, I don't care what you guys did in your previous life. It's what you're doing right now that shows me you got a good heart. You were trying to earn for your family, and a business is business. If you had a cop coming in and infiltrating, business is business. As long as it wasn't personal, there was no entrapment or anything like that. And that's what people got to look at. They got to look at where you are presently and where you're going to go in the future and how you're going to take your message forward. And I know, because I really want to get into what you're doing right now as far as mobsters versus monsters, but we're going to save that for another show, because we're coming up with another show with you very, very shortly.
perfect. Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
But we do got to wrap up.
Well, we'll wrap it up here. You have another podcast for the people that don't know, the Suffering Podcast with you and Mike, your
Yes.
partner on that, who was also an ex-police officer and also had issues with shootings and
PTSD is rampant. But I wanted to say one thing before we go. At the walkthebridge.org is the organization, and just Google it or just go right to it and just read about it, talk about it, and support it, because I support it and I made a PSA for it.
We'll put that in our show notes.
Okay, good.
we're going to put it in the people out there that listen to this show is about unity, not division. It's pro-police, pro-America, pro-veterans. And anybody that wants to look for us, please look out, subscribe, and listen for the next show that we have you guys on. We'll talk about mobsters and monsters.
Now, Mobsters vs. Monsters.
And Mall Block.
Okay, I got 2 projects going on right now. One is a reality paranormal TV show called Mobsters vs. Monsters.
Don't give away too much.
I'm not.
Leave the cliffhanger, bro.
Okay, and another project called Mob Block, which is a movie that myself and Castro are directing, producing, doing everything ourselves, editing it, soundtrack to it, and basically it's like a modern, urban, hip hop mob movie.
We got to jump in there with that.
We the only ones making
We're
hip hop
jumping in
mob
with you
movies.
guys.
You feel me?
Yeah,
we the only ones making
You
hip hop
go,
mafia
you
mob
go,
movies.
you go. Remember Cribs? Every rap
yeah.
every rap
Yeah,
star
yeah.
they went into Scarface or some other mob movies
Yeah.
playing on the TV, so it fits very well together.
How do guys find you and find you guys? Castro,
Okay.
Frankie?
Yes.
On Facebook, Mobsters vs. Monsters. You know, ask to join the group, and I'll let you in. You can read all about it. And Mob Block, it's not finished yet, but what is out is the soundtrack,
Yes.
Which is fantastic.
which is on iTunes,
Yes.
and it's under Castro Zaytana, and the album is called Reasonable Clout.
Reasonable Clout.
And track 6 on that, myself and Castro are on that together,
Called Cruise.
and the song is called Cruise, and the video will be dropping real soon to the world.
Yes.
I want to drop it here for you guys too.
Yes.
That's what we'll do.
And I'm on Instagram, Castro_Zaytan. You can find me there. You know, I'm
Yes,
right
and
there.
I'm on Instagram too, Mobsters vs. Monsters.
The Black Italian. You
I'm at Real Kevin Donaldson, and of course,
True John Alite. JohnAlite.com on the website. If you want to hear anything about these guys, or you want to know anything about my bats, signatures, cigar line.
cigar line. So we got Belladama cigars here. Put Elite 10 in there.
And before we go, I see you got that watch.
Oh,
What is that?
Oh, that's our sponsor.
Oh, that's
right?
the
Vincero.
That's the Vincero.
That's the
what
Vincero.
That's
So-
I'm always wearing the glasses now. I
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Oh, you got the glasses
So they
on
make
there.
watches and glasses.
for men and women. So I got to
I
step
like
up.
the black ones.
I got to step up my game because it seems like every person John knows is dressed to the nines. And listen, I'm just a
Shout out to
poor retired
Vincero
cop.
in the building. Vincero's in the building.
Any information you want to know about the movies, their shows, the new series I did, Nordic Narcos, coming out. It's all on the website. It'll give you a calendar. Follow us. Look out for these guys. And we'll be
And thanks
back
for
soon.
having us. Thanks for having
Thanks
us.
for having us.
We'll be
guys.
back.
Thank
We'll be
you.
back.
Thank you.
Morning in New York City.